Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How many of you have ever experienced heartbreak? That gut-wrenching feeling, the endless overthinking, the emotional roller coaster that feels like it's never going to stop? We've all been there. But let me tell you this, there is a way to break free, to reclaim your power, to take control of your life again. And it starts with one simple but powerful decision: no contact. Emotional detox is the first and most crucial step when practicing no contact after love. Think about it. When you go through a breakup, you're not just losing a person. You're losing a routine, a comfort zone, and in many cases, an identity that was intertwined with someone else. And because of this deep emotional connection, your brain treats a breakup like withdrawal from an addiction. This is why no contact is necessary. It is not just about staying away from your ex. It is about resetting your emotional and mental state to free yourself from the cycle of attachment. Imagine you've been eating unhealthy junk food every single day for years. Your body has adapted to it, and you don't even realize how much harm it's doing. But the moment you cut it out, your body starts to go through withdrawal. You crave it, you think about it constantly, and you might even justify going back to it, convincing yourself that just one time won't hurt. The same thing happens emotionally after a breakup. Your brain has been wired to seek comfort from that person, to feel validated by their attention, to rely on their presence. When that is suddenly gone, your mind goes into panic mode. That's why people struggle so much in the early stages of no contact. They feel empty, lost, and desperate for any kind of connection. But here's what you need to understand. Just because you crave something does not mean it's good for you. And just because something feels uncomfortable does not mean it's wrong. In fact, the discomfort is a sign that the detox is working. When you remove your ex from your life completely, you allow your brain to start reprogramming itself. You allow your heart to start healing. The more you resist the urge to reach out, the stronger you become. It's like building muscle. Every time you say no to an old habit, you reinforce a new, healthier pattern. A major mistake people make after a breakup is staying in contact under the illusion of friendship or closure. Let's be clear, closure is not something you get from another person. It's something you create within yourself. And staying in touch with someone you still have feelings for is like trying to heal a wound while constantly reopening it. Every text, every call, every glance at their social media is like scratching a scab. It stops the healing process and keeps the pain alive. No contact is the emotional cleanse that allows you to see things clearly. It removes the noise, the confusion, and the emotional highs and lows that come with constant interaction. At first, it feels like an unbearable silence, but over time, that silence becomes peace. You begin to hear yourself again. You start to reconnect with your own needs, your own dreams, your own identity, separate from the relationship that ended. There will be moments of weakness. Your brain will trick you into thinking that just one message won't hurt, that checking their Instagram won't change anything, that hearing their voice one last time might bring some relief. But here's what you need to know. Every single time you break no contact, you are resetting your healing process. It's like running a marathon and stopping at mile 15 to go back to the starting line. You don't just pause your progress, you undo it. Instead of focusing on what you lost, shift your mindset to what you are gaining. You are gaining clarity. You are gaining emotional independence. You are gaining the power to control your thoughts and emotions instead of being controlled by them. The pain you feel is temporary, but the growth you experience from no contact is permanent. Think about the future version of yourself, the one who has moved on, who is thriving, who looks back at this heartbreak as nothing more than a stepping stone towards something greater. That version of you is not checking their phone, waiting for a message that may never come. That version of you is too busy living, too focused on personal goals, too fulfilled by life to waste energy on the past. No contact is how you become that person. It won't be easy. Growth never is. But I promise you this. If you stay strong, if you commit to the process, if you resist the urge to go back to what broke you, you will come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and ready for the love you truly deserve. And when that day comes, you will look back and realize that the power of no contact wasn't just about healing from love, it was about rediscovering the power within yourself. Reclaiming your personal power after love is one of the most transformative experiences you can go through. When a relationship ends, there is often an imbalance. One person may feel abandoned, rejected, or powerless, while the other may seem to have control over the situation. This is especially true when you are the one left behind, still emotionally invested, still hoping for something to change. But the truth is, the moment you go no contact, you take back control. You shift the dynamic. You stop giving your power away and start directing it where it truly belongs. Toward yourself. Every time you reach out, every time you check their social media, every time you wait for them to validate your worth, you are giving them control over your emotions. You are allowing them to dictate how you feel, how you think, and even how you see yourself. It's a dangerous cycle because the more you seek external validation, the less power you hold within yourself. And here's the harsh reality. Someone who has walked away from you, who has chosen to leave, no longer holds the responsibility to provide you with closure, comfort, or reassurance. The only person who can give you that now is you. No contact is not about punishing the other person. It's about protecting yourself. It's about recognizing that you are the source of your own happiness, that your self-worth is not tied to whether or not someone still wants you. It's about understanding that your energy is valuable and should not be wasted on someone who is no longer showing up for you. This is where the shift happens. In the early stages, your mind will fight against this. You'll feel the urge to reach out because it feels like the only way to ease the pain. But think about it. How many times have you broken no contact in the past? How many times did it actually make you feel better long term? Usually what happens is that for a brief moment, you feel relief, a small hit of dopamine, like an addict getting a fix. But then reality hits again. If they don't respond the way you want, you spiral. If they don't respond at all, you spiral even deeper. And even if they do respond, it often brings more confusion, delaying the inevitable. You stay stuck in a loop where your emotional state is dependent on someone else's actions. That is the definition of giving away your power. But what happens when you truly commit to no contact? When you decide once and for all that you are done seeking closure, done waiting for an explanation, done trying to make someone see your worth. You take your power back. You start redirecting all that energy that was going into the relationship into yourself. Instead of waiting for them to text, you start focusing on your own growth. Instead of replaying the past, you start creating a new future. Think of it like a leaking bucket. Every time you give your attention, emotions, or thoughts to someone who is no longer in your life, you are leaking energy. Your confidence, your drive, your peace of mind, it all slowly drains away. But when you stop, when you plug that leak, you start filling your own cup again. You start rebuilding yourself in a way that makes you stronger than before. At first, it's going to feel unnatural. You've been conditioned to associate this person with comfort, with love, with security. But just because something feels familiar does not mean it's good for you. Growth is uncomfortable. Healing is painful. But on the other side of that pain is freedom. And here's the real magic. When you truly reclaim your power, when you no longer seek validation from your past, your energy shifts in a way that is undeniable. People notice, your confidence returns, your mindset elevates. You become someone who is in control of their emotions, their actions, and their future. And ironically, this is often when the other person begins to take notice. But by then, you won't even need their attention anymore because you will have something far more valuable. You will have yourself. The real win is not getting them back. The real win is becoming someone who doesn't need them anymore. Someone who has taken their pain and turned it into strength. Someone who has transformed heartbreak into power. When you commit to no contact, you are making a statement not to them, but to yourself. You are saying, I refuse to let someone else determine my happiness. I refuse to give my energy to something that no longer serves me. I choose myself. And that choice, that's the most powerful thing you will ever make. Clarity is one of the greatest gifts that no contact gives you. When a relationship ends, emotions are running high, and it's almost impossible to see things for what they truly are. Your mind is clouded with memories, attachment, and the illusion of what you wanted the relationship to be. This is why so many people struggle to move on. They are not seeing reality. They are seeing an emotionally distorted version of it. No contact is the tool that allows you to step back and see the truth. When you're constantly in touch with an ex, whether it's through text, calls, social media, or even just checking up on them, you are keeping yourself emotionally attached. It's like staying in a fog where everything feels confusing, painful, and uncertain. But when you remove yourself completely, something powerful happens. The fog begins to clear. You start to see things not through the lens of emotions, but through the lens of reality. At first, the silence feels unbearable. Your mind will try to convince you that reaching out will help you feel better. You might even believe that just one more conversation will bring you the closure you need. But closure isn't something that someone else can give you. It's something you create for yourself when you finally see the relationship for what it was, not just for what you hoped it would be. Distance gives you perspective. It allows you to analyze the relationship objectively. Were you truly happy, or were you just attached? Were your needs being met, or were you making excuses for why they weren't? Were you being loved the way you deserved, or were you settling because you were afraid to be alone? These are the questions that can only be answered when you step away from the emotional turmoil and give yourself time to reflect. When you're in the middle of a relationship, especially one that has had ups and downs, it's easy to romanticize the good moments and ignore the bad ones. Your brain naturally wants to focus on the times when things were good, the times when you felt loved, the times when they made you happy. But what about the times when you felt neglected, the times when you questioned your worth, the times when you felt anxious, uncertain, or like you had to prove your value? No contact allows you to see the whole picture, and often that picture is very different from the fantasy your mind has created. When you give yourself space, you start to remember the red flags you ignored, the times you compromised your own needs, and the ways you lost yourself in trying to keep the relationship together. It's not about blaming yourself or the other person. It's about gaining understanding, and with understanding comes power. The reason so many people struggle after a breakup is that they are still stuck in the illusion of what could have been. They think if I had just done this differently, maybe things would have worked out. But when you take a step back, you realize something important. A healthy relationship is not something you have to constantly fight for. It's not something that requires you to beg for attention, to prove your worth, or to tolerate being treated in a way that doesn't align with your values. Clarity is freedom. Once you truly see the relationship for what it was, not just through the lens of love, but through the lens of truth, you stop feeling like you lost something valuable. You start to realize that maybe this ending was necessary for your growth. Maybe this was life's way of redirecting you towards something better. And most importantly, maybe this is the opportunity you needed to reconnect with yourself. Another powerful thing that happens during no contact is that you start to see your own patterns. You begin to recognize what drew you to this relationship in the first place. Were you seeking validation? Were you afraid of being alone? Were you repeating a pattern from your past? These insights are crucial because they help ensure that you don't end up in the same cycle again. Clarity doesn't just help you move on, it helps you grow. One of the hardest truths to accept is that sometimes love is not enough. You can love someone deeply and still not be right for each other. You can care for someone and still need to walk away. No contact helps you accept this truth. It allows you to grieve, to process, and to ultimately come to a place of peace. And here's the most powerful part. Once you have that clarity, once you truly see things as they are, you stop wanting to go back. the pull to reach out, to reconnect, to see if there's still a chance, it fades. Because now you understand that going back would only mean repeating the same cycle, and you are no longer the person who is willing to stay stuck in something that isn't meant for you. Clarity isn't just about seeing the relationship differently. It's about seeing yourself differently. It's about realizing your worth, your strength, and your ability to create a future that isn't dependent on someone else's presence. And that is the moment when you truly start to heal. No contact is not just about avoiding pain or moving on from a relationship. It's about transformation. It's about taking what feels like one of the hardest experiences of your life and turning it into fuel for your personal growth. Most people see a breakup as an ending, but in reality, it can be a beginning, a chance to become someone stronger, wiser, and more aligned with the life and love they truly deserve. In the beginning, the pain is overwhelming. There's no denying that. Your mind is still stuck in the past, replaying memories, questioning what went wrong, and searching for a way to undo what has already happened. But here's the truth. You can't move forward while looking backward. Every time you dwell on the past, every time you check their social media, every time you wonder if they're thinking about you, you are delaying your own evolution. No contact is the decision to stop waiting for external closure and start creating internal growth. This is your opportunity to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Think about it. When you were in the relationship, how much of yourself did you lose? How many times did you put someone else's needs ahead of your own? How many things did you sacrifice? Your time, your energy, your personal goals, just to make the relationship work. No contact gives you the space to reclaim all of that. It's a chance to redirect your energy from someone else back to yourself. Instead of using your time and thoughts on an ex who is no longer in your life, start using them to invest in yourself. This is where the transformation happens. Start going to the gym, not just to look better, but to feel stronger. Start reading books, listening to podcasts, and feeding your mind with knowledge that will help you grow. Take up new hobbies, meet new people, explore new places. Fill your life with so much purpose and movement that your past becomes nothing more than a stepping stone to your future. A powerful shift happens when you stop seeing no contact as a punishment and start seeing it as an invitation to level up. The person you were in that relationship is not the person you have to remain. You have the power to evolve into someone completely different. Someone who knows their worth, who sets boundaries, who doesn't settle for less than they deserve. And here's the secret. The more you focus on self-improvement, the less the past matters. There will be moments when you feel tempted to break no contact. You will have days where the loneliness creeps in, where you wonder if they miss you, where you think about reaching out just to see if they still care. But remember this, every time you go back, you delay your transformation. Every time you give in to the urge to check on them, you give away a piece of your power. But every time you resist, every time you choose yourself instead, you get stronger. Think about where you could be 6 months from now if you fully committed to this process, not just surviving the breakup, but thriving because of it. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing a version of yourself who is unshakable, someone who has taken heartbreak and turned it into personal greatness. That version of you exists, but you have to make the choice to become them. No contact is not about proving anything to your ex. It's not about hoping they realize your worth. It's about you realizing your own worth. When you finally step into that, when you stop looking for validation outside of yourself, you become someone truly unstoppable. And here's the irony. When you fully embrace no contact, when you truly move on and focus on yourself, that's often when the person who left you starts to notice. They sense the shift. They see that you're no longer waiting. And sometimes they come back. But by then, you won't even need them anymore because you will have built a life, a mindset, and a future so strong that the past no longer has power over you. So the question is this: will you let this experience break you, or will you let it build you? Will you stay stuck in the past, or will you use it as the fuel to create something greater? No contact is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you are in full control. And when you fully commit to that, you don't just heal, you transform.